Earth once existed in a way that should have been impossible, a single, massive continent surrounded by one endless ocean. And somehow, life didn't just survive, it thrived. But hidden inside that world was a ticking clock that would erase almost everything. What if I told you the deadliest moment in Earth's history didn't involve dinosaurs at all? Millions of years before T-Rex ever took a step, something far stranger ruled the planet. Something almost no one talks about. And that's where this story begins. Picture this. You open your eyes 300 million years ago. You're standing on a supercontinent called Pangaea. No familiar continents. No borders. Just one colossal landmass stretching beyond the horizon. But here's the strange part. The air feels different. Thinner. Harder to breathe. The temperature? Cold, surprisingly cold. Some regions barely rise above 4 degrees Celsius. And yet, life is everywhere. Plants begin spreading. Insects crawl across the land. Evolution is accelerating. It's as if Earth is preparing for something bigger. But what? Over time, the ice retreats. Temperatures rise. Forests grow dense and alive. This once cold world transforms into something lush, vibrant, almost perfect. And this is where it gets weird. Because beneath all that beauty, the planet is becoming unstable. Volcanoes begin to reshape the land. The climate starts shifting faster than anything living can adapt to. And no one, no creature, no species, has any idea what's coming next. Because this isn't the rise of a world. It's the beginning of its end. As Pangaea warms, life doesn't just adapt, it explodes into new forms. Strange, unfamiliar creatures begin to dominate the land. And one of them changes everything. Meet Dimetrodon, a predator unlike anything you've ever seen. Nearly 5 meters long, heavy, powerful, and with a massive sail rising from its spine like a living blade. But here's the strange part. It's not a dinosaur. Dimetrodon existed long before dinosaurs even appeared, and it ruled this world with precision. Its teeth? A deadly combination, sharp enough to slice, flat enough to crush. If you saw it walking toward you, low to the ground like a crocodile, you wouldn't run. You wouldn't have time. But that's not even the craziest part. Because Dimetrodon wasn't alone. Across Pangaea, other creatures evolved into even more advanced forms. Mammal-like reptiles known as therapsids began to take over. Stronger jaws, faster movement, smarter survival instincts. Some grew massive, like Deuterosaurus. Others were smaller, faster hunters like Lycinops. And this is where things changed. Life wasn't just evolving anymore. It was competing, adapting, replacing itself at a rapid pace. But while animals fought for dominance, something far more dangerous was happening in the background. The planet itself was heating up. Temperatures climbed. Slowly at first, then faster. The air became heavier. The balance of life started to shift. And no one noticed the warning signs. Because everything still looked alive. But underneath, it was already beginning to collapse. The deeper you go into the Permian world, the stranger it becomes. Forests once filled with towering plants begin to dry out. Swamps disappear. And in their place, something new takes over. Seed-bearing plants. Gymnosperms. These were the ancestors of modern trees. Tough, resilient, designed to survive harsh, dry climates. And they spread across Pangaea faster than anything before them. But here's the strange part. Even insects began to evolve into something almost unrecognizable. Imagine cockroaches the size of birds. Giant, armored, crawling through forests. Cicadas and beetles feeding on plants in ways eerily similar to today, but far larger, far more intense. And yet, none of them ruled the world. Because evolution had something else in mind. Creatures like Lystrosaurus appeared. Small, stocky, almost harmless. Herbivores that burrowed into the ground, surviving where others couldn't. And then came cynodonts. These looked like oversized rodents, complete with whiskers. Fast, adaptive, intelligent. But that's not even the craziest part. These creatures would eventually lead to something familiar. Mammals. Yes, us. And this is where it gets weird. While life seemed to be building towards something greater, the environment was doing the opposite. Oxygen levels began to drop. Not slightly, drastically. Down to nearly 10%. Try breathing in that. You'd struggle. You'd slow down. You might not survive at all. And as oxygen fell, temperatures kept rising. The world was turning into an oven. And no species was ready for what came next. At first, it didn't look like a disaster. The oceans were still full of life. Ancient sharks moved through the water. Primitive fish swam in vast numbers. Marine ecosystems continued, almost untouched. But here's the strange part. The danger wasn't visible. It was building beneath the surface. Massive volcanic eruptions began releasing gases into the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide, methane, toxic chemicals. At first, it just made the planet warmer. Then hotter. Then unbearable. And this is where it gets weird. The oxygen in the oceans began to disappear. Slowly at first. Then rapidly. Marine life started suffocating. Entire ecosystems collapsed, not from predators, but from the inability to breathe. And on land, it was worse. Ash filled the skies. Sunlight disappeared. Temperatures suddenly dropped. Plants died. And without plants, everything else followed. But that's not even the craziest part. Because after the cooling came something far more brutal. A second wave. The greenhouse gases trapped heat again. But this time, the temperatures didn't just return. They skyrocketed. Higher than ever before. The oceans turned toxic. The land became uninhabitable. Life wasn't just struggling anymore. It was being erased. And still, no one truly knows why it happened this way. But what came next would change Earth forever. About 252 million years ago, Earth reached a breaking point. And then, everything ended. This event is known as the Great Dying. But that name doesn't even come close to explaining what really happened. Because this wasn't just an extinction. It was a reset. Up to 95% of all marine species, gone. Over 70% of land animals, gone. Entire ecosystems, wiped out as if they never existed. But here's the strange part. Life didn't just disappear instantly. It collapsed in waves. First the plants, then the herbivores, then the predators. Each layer of life falling one after another, like a chain reaction no one could stop. And this is where everything changes. Because the world that came after this extinction was completely different from the one before it. New species would rise. New ecosystems would form. And eventually, dinosaurs would take over. But that's not even the craziest part. Because scientists still debate what truly caused the Great Dying. Was it volcanic eruptions? Toxic oceans? A runaway greenhouse effect? Or something we still haven't discovered? And if something like this happened once, what's stopping it from happening again? Because the real question isn't how life ended back then. It's whether we